with pieces of butter. Add a little milk, then a layer of the flowerets, and another sprinkling of milk, cheese, and pepper. Cauliflower fritters. Soak and boil the cauliflower in the usual way. Then separate into flowers. Dip each piece into a thin batter, plunge into boiling fat, and fry a delicate brown. Serve very hot on napkins. If preferred, the pieces may be dipped into a mixture of salt, pepper, vinegar, and oil, then fried. Creamed spaghetti. Have 2 quarts of water boiling in a kettle and 1/3 of a pound of spaghetti. Hold a few pieces of the spaghetti at a time in the water, and as the ends soften, turn them round and round down into the kettle. When all are in the water, put on a cover and cook the spaghetti 20 minutes, then drain. Make a cream sauce with a rounding tablespoon each of flour and butter and 1 cup of cream. Season with 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a few grains of pepper. Stir in the spaghetti cut in inch pieces. Turn onto a dish and sprinkle with finely grated cheese. Fried corn. Cut the corn off the cob, leaving the grains as separate as possible. Fry in just enough butter to keep it from sticking to the pan, stirring very often. When nicely browned, add salt and pepper and a little rich cream. Do not set near the fire after adding the cream. Fried tomatoes. Wipe some smooth, solid tomatoes and slice and fry in a spider with butter or pork fat. Season well with salt and pepper. Glazed carrots with peas. Wash, scrape, and cut 3 medium-sized carrots in 1/4 inch slices, then in cubes or fancy shapes. Drain and put in saucepan with 1/2 cup butter, 1/3 cup sugar, and 1 tablespoon fine chopped fresh mint leaves. Cook slowly until glazed and tender. Drain and rinse 1 can French peas and heat in a freshly boiling water 5 minutes. Again drain and season with butter, salt, and pepper. Mound peas on hot dish and surround with carrots. Glazed sweet potatoes. Put 2 rounding tablespoons of butter and 1 of sugar into a casserole and set on the back of the range to heat slowly. When hot, lay in raw, pared sweet potatoes cut in halves lengthwise. Dust with salt and pepper and put in another layer of seasoned potatoes and enough boiling water to stand 1/2 inch deep in the dish. Put on the close-fitting cover and set in the oven to cook slowly. When the potatoes are tender, serve in the same dish with the sweet sauce that will not be entirely absorbed in the cooking. This way of preparing sweet potatoes pleases the Southern taste, which demands sugar added to the naturally sweet vegetable. Glazed sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes, like squash and peas, lose a little of their sweetness in cooking, and when recooked it is well to add a little sugar. Slice 2 large cooked sweet potatoes and lay in a small baking dish. Sprinkle with a level tablespoon of sugar and a few dashes of salt and pepper. Add also some bits of butter. Pour in 1/2 cup of boiling water, bake half an hour, basting twice with the butter and water. Green melon sauté. There are frequently a few melons left on the vines which will not ripen sufficiently to be palatable uncooked. Cut them in halves, remove the seeds, and then cut in slices 3/4 of an inch thick. Cut each slice in quarters, and again, if the melon is large, pare off the rind, sprinkle them lightly with salt and powdered sugar, cover with fine crumbs, then dip in beaten egg, then in crumbs again, and cook slowly in hot butter, the same as eggplant. Drain and serve hot. When the melons are nearly ripe, they may be sautéed in butter without crumbs. Japanese or Chinese rice. Wash 1 cup of rice, rubbing it through several waters until the water runs clear. Put in porcelain-lined stewpan with a quart of soup stock and bay leaves and boil 20 minutes. The stock must be hot when added to the rice. Shake the kettle in which it is cooking several times during the cooking, and lift occasionally with a fork. Do not stir. Pour off any superfluous stock remaining at the end of 20 minutes, and set on the back of the stove or in the oven, uncovered, to finish swelling and steaming. Just before serving, add 1 cup of hot tomato juice, a 1/4 cup of butter, a tablespoon chopped parsley, a dash of paprika, and 1 tablespoon of grated cheese. Serve with grated cheese. Lima beans with nuts. Soak 1 cup of dry lima beans overnight. In the morning rip off the skins, rinse, and put into the bean pot with plenty of water and salt to season, rather more than without the nuts. Let cook slowly in the oven and until perfectly tender. Add 1/2 cup of walnut meal, stirring it in well. Let cook a few minutes and serve. Macaroni with apricots. Stew 20 halves of fresh apricots in 1/2 cup of sugar and enough water to make a nice syrup when they are done. Before removing from the fire, add a heaping tablespoonful of brown flour and cook until the syrup is heavy and smooth. Parboil 10 sticks of macaroni broken in 2-inch pieces, drain, add to 1 pint of scalding hot milk 2 ounces of sugar. Throw in the parboiled macaroni and allow it to simmer until the milk is absorbed. Stir it often. Pour all the juice or sauce from the apricots into the macaroni. Cover the macaroni well, set on the back of the stove for 15 minutes, then take off and allow to cool. When cold, form a pile of macaroni in the center of the dish and cover with apricots, placing them in circles and over it. Macaroni and cheese. Cook macaroni broken up into short lengths in boiling salted water. Boil uncovered for 20 or 30 minutes, then drain. Fill a buttered pudding dish with alternate layers of macaroni and grated cheese, sprinkling pepper, salt, and melted butter over each layer. Have top layer of cheese, moisten with rich milk. Bake in moderate oven until a rich brown. Scrambled cauliflower. Trim off the coarse outer leaves of cauliflower. After soaking and cooking, drain well and divide into branches. Sprinkle with nutmeg, salt and pepper, and toss into a frying pan with hot butter or olive oil. Macaroni or spaghetti served in Italian style. Break a pound of macaroni or spaghetti into small pieces. Put into boiling salted water and boil about 20 minutes. Then drain and arrange on platter. Sprinkle on each layer grated cheese and mushroom sauce. Serve hot. Mushroom sauce, Italian style, for macaroni, spaghetti, ravioli, and rice. A small piece of butter about the size of an egg. 1 or 2 small onions cut very small. About 2 pounds of beef. Let all brown. Prepare as you would a pot roast. Add Italian dried mushrooms, soaked overnight in hot water, chopped in small pieces. Add about 1/2 can of tomatoes. Let all cook well. Salt and pepper to taste. Add a little flour to thicken. Mold spinach. Remove roots and decayed leaves. Wash in several waters until no grit remains. Boil in water to nearly cover until tender. Drain, rinse in cold water, drain again, chop very fine. Reheat in butter, season with salt and pepper, and pack in small cups. Turn out and garnish with sifted yolk of egg. Nut parsnip stew. Wash, scrape, and slice thin 2 good-sized parsnips. Cook until perfectly tender in 2 quarts of water. When nearly done, add a teaspoon of salt, and when thoroughly done, a teaspoon of flour mixed with a little cold water. Stir well and let boil until the flour is well cooked. Then stir in 1/2 cup of walnut meal. Boil up once and serve immediately. Potatoes a la maître d'hôtel. Slice cold boiled potatoes thin. Melt a rounding tablespoonful of butter in a saucepan. Add a heaping pint bowl of the potatoes, season with salt and pepper, and heat. Now add a teaspoon of lemon juice and the same of finely minced parsley and serve at once. Potatoes au gratin. Make a white sauce, using 1 tablespoonful of butter, 1 of flour, 1/2 a teaspoonful of salt, 1/4 of a teaspoonful of white pepper, and 1 cupful of milk. Cut cold boiled potatoes into thick slices, or better still, into 1/2-inch cubes. Butter a baking dish, put it in a layer of the sauce, then one of the potatoes, previously lightly seasoning with salt and pepper. Continue until all are in, the proportion of potato being about 2 cupfuls. To 1 cupful of dried and sifted breadcrumbs, add 1 teaspoonful of melted butter, and stir until it is evenly mixed through. Spread this over the contents of the baking dish, and place in a quick